It is inevitable that after you've played enough video games, you get the thought of, hey, I want to make one of those, right? I want to do that. But the odds of you giving up along the way are insanely high. You will fail. You will probably suck. You will get stuck a lot. And you will think to yourself, why am I doing this? But guess what? That does not matter. You are meant to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail until you've tried and failed enough to where now you can participate in a game jam. Now you have a small portfolio of games that you've created. Now you feel like those bigger ideas you have, that dream game that maybe you've wanted to make this whole time, is possible. But in order to do that, you have to try and you have to fail. See, in order to make games, you have to make games. And that's scary, I know, that's terrifying, but simple games, small games. Maybe you're recreating Snake, or Space Rocks, or some other classic arcade game. A game that probably isn't your dream game. But that's the point. You don't have to worry about failure because you're not trying to make an amazing game right now. You're learning how to eventually make an amazing game. The goal is to progress the same that you would with any skill, not from 0 to 100, but taking small steps over time. If you're making your very first game and you're telling yourself that this will be your dream game and you have this big cool idea you want to execute, I'll tell you right now that your odds of success are very low. If you're jumping right into that complicated idea, you're basically telling yourself you want to learn piano, and then the first song that you learn is Rush E. Now, is that possible? Sure, maybe you're like Toby Fox, and one of the first games that you ever start is going to become Undertale. But by taking that risk, you're missing out on a lot. The human brain thrives off of the feeling of making progress and the reward of feeling like you're learning and seeing yourself get better. Setting a really high ambition like making this dream game or learning this super hard song on piano, it does mean that you're passionate. But you don't know what it's like to make a game yet. You haven't fallen in love with the process. You aren't going to see yourself make progress for a longer time than you usually would if you started with small projects and worked your way up. Believe me, I know the feeling of having the idea for a game that is so fiery, it just feels like it consumes you, and that's all you can think about. That's all you want to do is just make it. You have this amazing storyline cooked up, well-designed characters you perfectly envision fitting into your world, gameplay mechanics that are genuinely unique and you know would be fun. I know what it's like to want nothing more than to just get started on that and make it. I've gone into a lot of projects with those ideas, but because I wasn't at Rush E level yet, they either ended up as small projects that just kind of taught me something, or they burnt me out from game development for months. For me, this manifested a lot through pixel art. When I had the idea for my very first game, I decided that I wanted to start by creating this beautiful aesthetic that would be inspired by one of my favorite albums, the First Glass Beach album. It's phenomenal, fire, definitely listen to it. It is a wonderful album, and the cover art is made up of these colors. So my plan was to make a game with that same color palette. I made all kinds of little dudes, random pieces of furniture, tile sets, and then eventually I got an idea for a different game. So I found a different color palette and made a bunch of art for that game. This would happen again and again with different game ideas, different album arts, until eventually I just got really good at pixel art, but none of that had translated into making any games. I'm not mad about it. I'm really happy that I learned to do pixel art and focused on that, but part of why I spent so much time doing it is because it was a way for me to put off doing the actual coding. I could keep coming up with new ideas, new themes, new styles, and it was very fun, but it took me a long time to actually finish any games, even tiny ones. If I can do it with pixel art, then I know that I can at least do it with anything, and it's just a matter of what I put the time into. The things that I want to do, or the things that I should do to actually make a video game. Game development is hard. It's a million skills in one, and it's not just that, but it's a million skills you have to manage and keep organized, which is why I want to thank today's sponsor, ClickUp. With ClickUp, you can set up productivity boards and organize everything with calendar views all in one place. It helps you stay organized in all your projects with hundreds of tools made to help you work efficiently. You're able to track progress on each of your tasks, see your goals visually, work collaboratively, and if it's too overwhelming, there's a ton of templates out there made to help you get started. My favorite part is that it syncs to nearly every existing software under the sun, so your calendar, cloud storage, messaging apps. Porting over data is not the nightmare that it usually is, especially when it comes to coding. You can create branches and pull requests for GitHub directly in ClickUp. Everything can finally be in one place. I cannot emphasize enough just how many features ClickUp has to offer, which is what makes it a phenomenal tool for the challenging task that is game development. And if you do use my amazing, phenomenal, sexy link, ClickUp will give you a discount when you're ready to upgrade your plan. Let ClickUp be your second brain to help you stay organized and stress-free. Now, if you're like me and you enjoy that management side or the more creative side of making a video game, so the artwork, the design, the story, you will have to learn to hold yourself back. Making games is a creative process, don't get me wrong, but making the game, as in physically assembling it, building it, coding it, is the backbone of everything. When I get the idea for a game nowadays, I have to physically hold myself back from daydreaming the entire story, making all the art, defining a style, because as important as those things are, nothing is as important as implementation. I have so many fleshed out game ideas that I never did anything with because I developed the idea so much without stopping to make any of it. And by the time that I was ready to actually start developing, I was burned out, I was bored, I didn't want to think about it anymore. And that's why I say small projects are so important. Come up with a cool game idea, but once you have the basis for what mechanics are driving your gameplay and why it'd be fun, go make that. Okay, go code that. Maybe follow a few tutorials to give yourself a point of reference. And then when you're done with that, then you can worry about the art and how much more you want to add, how deep the rest of the game should go. Learning to control the scope of your game is usually something that you learn by doing, by setting a bar too high, by trying to learn Rush E too soon. There's a quote out there from a wise man on Reddit. Someone who's so wise, I don't remember where I saw this quote or who exactly said it, but it goes along the lines of, make a game that you think will take you a week to make, and it'll end up taking you a month. Then make a game you think will take you a month, and it'll end up taking you a year. In other words, go for something simple, because even something simple is going to end up being a challenge. Your game ideas will probably flesh themselves out more as you make them. So if you can start with like a sentence or two long description describing what base mechanic is driving the gameplay of your game, I think that's all you need. I think all the best games out there can be simplified to a short description where it's clear why it's fun, even without all the details about the story or every mechanic. Undertale is an RPG game where you don't have to kill anything and your choices matter. Hades is a roguelike about Greek mythology where you battle throughout the underworld, find new weapons, and encounter various gods. Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania where you unlock abilities as you explore to keep opening up more and more of the world. So what is your game? What's your sales pitch, that 2-sentence description? Narrow that down, figure out what base mechanic is going to make your game fun to play, and then see where it goes. You know, make this game not knowing if it's going to do good. Do it not knowing if it's going to become a big game or just another side project. Do it because if you are going to make a dream game one day, this big hit game of yours, you have to enjoy the process of making games no matter what the outcome is. Regardless of whether you're the only person who ends up playing it, regardless of whether it ends up on Steam or not. If I had to define what it truly means to be passionate about something, it's that. You'd do it even if only a few people cared, maybe if nobody but you cared. For me, that's what making videos is. People seeing it and caring and interacting with something that I worked really hard on is a massive plus, don't get me wrong, it's very motivating. But I know that if I want to be big one day, I have to do it for me. I can't do it because I want the results of having a successful channel. Because you want the results of having a popular game, of having a finished product. You have to value and enjoy the process, not just the results. And that's one of the biggest things that holds people back. Nearly everyone has ideals in their lives for these things they want to do, a thing they want to have, a skill they wish they could be good at. But can you enjoy the process of getting good at that thing? Of not being immediately good at it? Of not having the results you want from the very beginning? That is a skill in and of itself, and it's the skill of learning. The skill of getting over that hump of sucking at something for a really long time, trusting that eventually you'll be where you want to be. And you will, guaranteed. If you keep trying, you keep working, you keep failing, you will get better. That's not a hopeful statement. That's not me trying to motivate you. That is a fact. That is how skills work. And game development is not any different. It's how I learned pixel art, maybe it's how you learned an instrument or picked up a new job. I could make a whole video on that alone. So please, get out there, claw your way out of tutorial hell if you have to, subscribe to my channel, join the Discord in the description if you want to, and go make a video game. Or else.